The glory of an R8 V10 Plus in a tunnel. The 2019 has an updated front end, and I really like it because it's a lot more aggressive. You've got some angles right here. This particular car has the large honeycomb with the black optics package, and of course the laser lighting that you get here in Europe. Really sharp front end, just makes it a little bit more aggressive, which I think is a step in the right direction for Audi. This car also has the carbon ceramic brakes with the red calipers that are absolutely gorgeous. You've got the black optics package running all along the side, and then up top, although you don't get to see the engine on the convertible model, you do get this carbon fiber overlay, which is really nice, framing the area where the convertible and the engine is. And of course, you've got the carbon fiber on the rear spoiler and a nice large diffuser with the dual exhaust tips coming out of the back. So here we are in the 2019 R8 V10 Plus convertible with the top down in the Alps, giant mountains spilling right into beautiful lakes all over here, and we have been in this car for 4 days. We're putting over 1,000 miles on this car, so this is not some quick review where we're just going to fall in love with it for 5 or 10 minutes and then take it back to the dealership. We've been in this car long enough now that we're starting to learn the things that we like about it and the things that we don't like, but there really isn't much that we don't like. The interior is very, very comfortable. We've been driving this car out on the Autobahn at 250 plus kilometers an hour, up through mountain roads, through cities with potholes. Everywhere this car handles everything pretty much perfectly. It's as comfortable as a normal daily driver car would be, but it's got the handling ability to tear up the mountain roads, and it's got way more potential than you can unlock on these narrow Italian roads. The interior is gorgeous. One thing that I really like about this interior is that Audi hasn't gone crazy with trying to tell you that you're in an R8. The interior is very Audi, and I like that because I think Audi has the best interiors in the business. The heads-up display is beautiful. When you look around, you've got a little more carbon trim than you would have in some of the other models, but everything is going to look very familiar in here to other cars in the Audi lineup. The only time I see an R8 logo, in fact, is at the bottom of the steering wheel. So there aren't R8 logos all over the place or weird angles like you get in some of the Ferrari interiors. This is a nice, I want to look at this every single day type of interior. And it's very comfortable. The seats are supportive. They're a little firm, but you would expect that for a sports car. It's not so firm that my butt hurts, and I've been sitting in this car for 3 days now. So it's a nice car. Everything seems to work. The layout is very understandable. There's a lot of controls, so it does take a little bit of time to learn. But you pick it up, and within 20 or 30 minutes of having this car, you pretty much know how to get your way around the navigation system. I really like that you can change this display, so you can move the tachometer over and have the navigation be large in front of you, or you can switch it up if you're in mountains and you want to really see that tachometer large and make the navigation small. You can switch that. So it's very driver friendly. And that's one other thing that you notice about this interior. The passenger gets almost no information. This is a driver's car. The passenger does not have a navigation system. They have very few controls that they can actually reach, and they're supposed to just sit there and listen to the glorious V10 right behind their ears. It's just such a great car. They can come up here and do this, and then as soon as we get back in the city, very comfortable, very quiet, very tame, unassuming. Brakes are absolutely fantastic on this car. We've been going up and over the Alps. Sometimes we go up, we come down, we go back up, we come back down. Brakes never fade. These have the carbon ceramic brakes. We haven't had any issues with the pedal feel. And trust me, I've been trying. When you hit the brakes, the tires are so large, the car is so well planted. You get into ABS if you really hit it hard. But it's hard to get it into ABS even because there's so much tire underneath you. If the road is a little bit bumpy or a little bit you're leaning, maybe trail braking in a little bit, you're going to feel the pedal pulse, but very, very solid car, very capable brakes. You drive the Lamborghinis up here through the mountain, even though they share a lot of parts with this car, you get the brake fade in Lamborghinis. Maybe it's because it's heavier or different fluid, I don't know why, but the Lamborghinis seem to get the brakes a little bit hotter and the pedal gets a little bit softer. We haven't had any of that in this car. God, it's so fast. I mean, it wants to lift up. And yet there's no traction loss. It's always planted, always. Every now and then it lifts the inside wheel going around a really sharp turn, which is fine. That's just saying that the chassis is nice and stiff. God, this is great. Gear shift is like getting pushed in the back by a bull. I mean, it really hits you. Second, third, fourth, a little smoother, but 1, 2. If you're cruising at 30 miles an hour and you just floor it, when you hit from first to second, you're gonna feel it. And the shift's instant. No issues with the gearbox, no complaints about the upshift or downshift time. You know, at some point, I know all the manufacturers right now are saying we're 1/100th of a millisecond faster than that person. I mean, at some point, you don't notice it anymore. The shifts are instant. Whether it's going up or down, the shifts are instant. And I do like the feature in this car where if you're coming into a braking zone and you just hold down the downshift, it'll downshift to whatever gear you need it to automatically. So if you're coming into a turn really fast at 5th, but it's a short turn, a tight turn, and you're going to be taking second gear through it, the transmission will figure all that out for you. It'll just go 5th to 2nd. You let go of it and you're ready to rock. You don't have to click, 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 click. Unfortunately for this review, I cannot offer any feedback at all on how good the transmission is at selecting gears when you're tearing through the mountains, because it's just way too much fun to use the pedals yourself. So I've been in complete control all 4 days. I put it in manual mode and I leave it there. Even driving around town, I've put it in comfort mode and let it shift itself a little bit in town just to see how much smoother the shifts are for the review. But when you're up here, you want to pull the paddles yourself. The sound that this car makes is absolutely fantastic. And one thing that's great is that you can set this car up to sound kind of however you want it to. Early in the morning, if you're going to work, you can keep it in a very quiet mode where you're not going to wake up any of your neighbors. But when you get out here and you want to open up all the baffles and put it into dynamic mode and put it in performance mode, you can really open it up and hear the sound. One thing that's great about the sound of this car is that it's not just exhaust noise. You've got the V10 about a foot behind your head, so you get mechanical noise, you get the engine itself, and you get intake noise. And those three things add up to make a glorious sound. When you slow down, nice burbles and backfires out of the exhaust as you use the engine to brake a little bit. And at the top, it seems to open the valves around 4,600, but at the top of the RPM range, it's just screaming. A V10 at 8,500 RPM redline is something that you have to experience to really appreciate. So if we slow down here, this is what the engine is at 5,000, 6,000, 7, and it's starting to come into its own now. 8,000, and all the way up. The red line will really sneak up on you fast. You would think a V10 probably not going to rev all that fast, but this one will definitely sneak up on you. The engine's got such a light valve train, it just turns the RPMs all the way through to the red line. And if you're not paying attention to when you've got to hit the paddles, you're going to be bouncing off that red line frequently. In terms of reliability, we've had absolutely no issues. So we've got 11 cars in our group with us, all doing about 1,000 miles over the course of 4 days. So that's 11,000 miles that we're going to be putting on R8s. Nobody has had a single mechanical issue. We've been sitting here idling in the hot Italian sun in the summer. Temperatures have always been on the entire trip, oil, coolant, all the temperatures have been perfect. Nothing has gotten hot, nothing has gotten into a range where we have to slow down. The car has never put itself into some sort of limp mode and told us that we're having too much fun for a period of time. And just overall, the car is very approachable. For example, driving around for the last 4 days in cities, up and out of driveways in the steep Alps, we've not once scraped the front of the car, okay? The car has been designed in a way to be very usable daily. You can get in and out of the car easily, and maybe, you know, you see reviews, people are talking about how easy or difficult it is to get in and out of the car, and you think, who really cares? Well, it shows you the design approach of the vehicle, that this is a high performance car that you can still comfortably get in and out of on a daily basis. The engineers have a choice when they make a car. They can say, this is going to be hard to get into or easy to get into. Either choice they can make. And when you see a car like this that has this much performance and is still very usable, it shows that they're intending that you're going to be driving this car a lot, putting a lot of miles on it, and not worrying about it breaking down all the time. Build speed so fast, you really should not be able to accelerate to the speeds you can and the distances that I'm doing this. It changes your depth perception between turns. Because you think you have space to let it run out a little bit, and next thing you know, you look down 60, 80, 100, 120. Thankfully, the brakes are fantastic. You can pretty much just floor it mid-turn, even with all the stability control off. And even though you've got a V10 behind you, Quattro takes care of everything. Doesn't push, doesn't oversteer. It just bites really hard.
Turn left after 350 meters.
What a great road. This road is actually a touch damp, and with a little bit of moisture on the road, occasionally you do start to feel that if the car were to move, slight tendency to understeer, but it's very slight. And as soon as the road goes dry again, there's nothing but unlimited traction. So there are only two things about this car that I would like to see done differently, and that's pretty impressive given the amount of time that we're spending in this car. One is this dash right here. Right above the cluster, you have a little section of plastic that the turn signals show up in, and I would love to see that be a tachometer, a linear tachometer that goes green to yellow to red as you accelerate. Because when you have this screen up in full navigation mode and you're looking strictly at the navigation, the tachometer gets small and off to the side and it's kind of hard to see, but you're still driving passionately. So it'd be nice to have a tachometer going right across here. And you see that in some of the Ferrari interiors and some of the other cars. I think it'd be very small for them to change, and it'd make a big difference in the driver experience.